This is the Fantasy Alarm NBA DFS show with John Impemba and James Grande.
What is going on, FA Nation? John Impemba here with Keith Eister. Welcome into the Fantasy Alarm NBA DFS Playbook live show. It is Friday. We got 7 games here on the DraftKings main slate. And Keith, I don't know if you see the screen here, but there's a lot of players ruled out for tonight's main slate. You did the we lost.
What happened?
We lose connection. Are we here?
You're back. You jumped out for a second, but I think you're good to go now.
Alrighty, perfect. I was going to say, what just happened? I think I lost myself here for a moment, but as long as we're still live, I guess we're okay. In the chat here, it does say we're still live, so that's good. Yeah. So like I said, you did the playbook today. A lot of injury news to go over all day today in our comment section in the Discord. Everybody's wondering what happened with the Pacers and Wizards last night, tanking at its finest. Players who were in the rotation didn't play at all. Players who were starting played minimal minutes, and now we have a back-to-back. Some of those players did get ruled out, so the tank is still on. But it is definitely scary season in the NBA when it comes to some of these rotations. We have other teams on this slate today, like the Utah Jazz that we know are tanking. Brooklyn, a team with some interesting rotations on back-to-back. So, how did you find it as like an overview today? How did you find breaking down today's slate, man?
Yeah, there's value all over the place. As you mentioned, we've got the Pacers and Wizards running it back with an even shorter rotation on both sides here tonight, being that it's a back-to-back. The Utah-Memphis game is an absolute just nightmare of injury situations on both sides. We have a massive total in Miami and Atlanta. A couple of massive two touchdown spreads on the slate as well. So it a little bit of everything. The one thing I think is lacking on this slate is like spend up options.
Sure.
We'll talk about Jalen Johnson, obviously, but there's no Wemby, there's no Jokic, there's no Luka. So we have all this value, but really nowhere to spend our money. You're going to like your lineups tonight, I think, because you feel really good about the value, and then there's not a ton of stuff to spend up on. So
yeah,
really easy to make lineups today for sure.
Only, like you said, only a couple of guys to spend your money on today. That's where the ownership is going. Really, Anthony Edwards is your second highest rostered player on the slate. They had that matchup against Dallas, but as you've kind of alluded to here, I mean, Dallas coming into this game severely shorthanded or over 2 touchdowns on that spread. And then you have Jalen Johnson, who obviously a little bit more expensive, and the slate high 243 total, 3.5 point spread. If you're saving any money today on ownership on Jalen Johnson over Anthony Edwards, that better be probably the better play given the matchup. But we'll break it all down. And we do appreciate you guys tuning in. Grande talking in here from vacation. Happy to hope you're enjoying your time off, James. We'll see you back here from the Sunday night preview show for Monday's slate. Doug popping in, calling this a fun slate. We'll see how fun it gets, I guess. Coach Chris in here saying, let's get it. I guess I'll throw a lineup or two in. Pacers, Wizards did nasty work last night. That is for sure. And Jalen Johnson's better than everybody. So, yeah, that is also.
I did say he's better than everybody on this slate. I'm not saying that he's better than everybody in the league, like one of our other co-hosts may have claimed at one time.
Is he a most improved player winner this year? I haven't seen the betting odds, but I feel like the way the numbers that he's putting up this year, he might be leading in the MIP award category there. We do appreciate you guys again. Hit that like, share, subscribe button. Free way to join. So free way to support the show that we got going on here. And if you do want to join Fantasy Alarm, as I said all week long, we are now the award-winning Fantasy Alarm. We won the FSGA award for best written content. That includes all of our DFS betting and seasonal content. So the DFS playbook that Keith wrote today, part of that award-winning content there, 50% off first month. YouTube, fantasyalarm.com/YouTube, promo code YT50 to get you in on that action. All right, let's start it off. Point guard position, James Harden's 9K, LaMelo Ball's $8,800. A bunch of guys injured around them. Got Isaiah Collier at $8,200 without Keontae George and the rest of Utah against Memphis here today. Rollins and KPJ at $7,800. That's like your top 6 guards that are healthy for today. Do you find yourself looking to spend up at the point guard position tonight?
Not all the way up necessarily. Like I mentioned, there's not a ton of spend up options. So James Harden is in the mix for me. I don't love it on a back-to-back. Evan Mobley being out does help the ceiling a little bit. Charlotte's been much better on defense. They're obviously still missing Bridges and Diabate, but still a much better defense than they were earlier in the season. I'm not touching LaMelo on a back-to-back. They've messed with his minutes, even moving him out of the lineup at times. Like, I don't think I can do that on a back-to-back. But Harden, I'm okay with. Just not all that excited about it. There are definitely spend-ups I prefer. Collier is interesting now. That's sticker shock looking at the price tag, but then you look through the game logs, and he has absolutely justified that without Keontae George and Lauri Markkanen and Jaren Jackson Jr. So we're back to this. Can he play 40 minutes again tonight? Utah does not have the same bodies issues that they've had in the past. Right. So I don't think he'll see quite 40, but upper 30s I think is very much in play. I don't mind the price tag there at 8,200. Not my favorite in the range, though. Rollins is back. I think you can certainly go there. It's an elite matchup against New Orleans, but KPJ is the one that really stands out to me. We've seen the peripherals take a massive jump. The usage is up there among the team leaders as well. They're without Miles Turner today, obviously still without Giannis. Great spot for KPJ in an elite matchup.
Yeah, and that's where the ownership is first, spend ups in quotations for today as well. He's up over 30%. Right now, because there's just so much value in like really good value, at this position. If you want to kind of work your way down, no one else is above 10%. Like LaMelo's at 13, and then it's KBJ at 30, and then it's value plays. If you scroll down, Cam Spencer's 25, Brandon Williams is 30, Jeremiah Fears is 31. I mean, is there anybody else in the mid-range or that you'd be looking at? I mean, where do you find yourself looking to go here?
Yeah, I mean, like you could play a Dyson Daniels or a Dante DiVincenzo. CJ McCollum even has been playing 30 minutes, but like you look at those guys and you can get the same thing for $1,000 cheaper in Cam Spencer and Brandon Williams. Like we're talking about starting point guards with 30-minute roles. We saw Williams jump into the starting lineup and play 29 minutes last game.
Yep. Williams' point prop tonight's at 18.5. So like they're expecting points from Brandon Williams tonight.
Yeah, I mean, no Cooper Flag. It makes sense that he's going to take on a massive usage role here. Cam Spencer, same thing. Memphis is extremely shorthanded. He gets one of the best matchups, the best matchup in the entire league, perhaps. So it's really hard to argue with those two that are catching ownership. In the 5K range, makes it pretty tough to play the 6K range, in my opinion.
Absolutely. Jeremiah Fears, again, up over 30%. He was the one we pegged almost immediately last night when the Murphy news came down. 30 minutes in back-to-back games, obviously a big role since Alvarado got traded, but high usage rate player for him as well, like when he's been on the floor. So even playing with Zion and Murphy and things like that, like his usage rate's up over 20%. I think it was like 25% the last couple of games here when on the floor. So yes, he's going to see it a little bit, when playing with Zion full time and whatnot, but I think Fears against Milwaukee here is a really, really good play. Yeah,
I completely agree. No argument whatsoever from me. He was already playing 30 minutes since Alvarado got traded, and now you have no Trey Murphy. I assume that he jumps into the starting lineup for Murphy and could see upwards of 35 minutes tonight. So absolutely love it.
Let's see here. The other one was Javon Small. He's the cheapy play, up over 40%. Where's this price tag here? Right at $3,500, 45% ownership.
Yeah, this is the type of stuff that I'm going to try to stay away from on this slate, I think, just because, as I mentioned at the top of the show, we don't really have all that much to spend up on. So you talk about a guy with like Fears at 4,800 who's locked into a massive role. I don't think I need to try to guess how many minutes Javon Small is going to play, or an Ethan Thompson, or Alondas Williams played a bunch of minutes for Washington last night. Like these plays that are uncomfortable and volatile, I don't think I need to chase them all that much. You certainly can play Small. He's had a role. He's not as comfortable as a guy like Fears. So we don't need to save that $1,000 today. I'd play Fears like 9 out of 10 times in that spot.
I was going to say, would you touch any of the Pacers?
I don't think so. Like Cam Jones probably starts. If McConnell is inactive, then there's a chance that he plays 30 minutes in this spot. He just hasn't produced all that much when he's been given this opportunity. So I don't know. It's not comfortable.
No, I'm with you there. Let's go on over to shooting guard. Again, Anthony Edwards is getting ownership. He's up over 30%. You can play Fears and KBJ and Brandon Williams and Cam Spencer and all the guys we've talked about. They all have dual eligibility. So Donovan Mitchell, I guess, is your pivot matchup against Charlotte here. He's $9,500. They don't have Evan Mobley. Would you take the 50% less ownership play and play Donovan Mitchell tonight against Charlotte instead of spending up for Anthony Edwards at 30%?
Yeah, I'm totally fine with that. I mean, Minnesota has an absolutely massive total. I think it's 127 is their implied team total.
Yeah.
So I get why the field is preferring Edwards over Mitchell, but like it's a great matchup for Mitchell as well. No Mobley. He's still been able to find a bit of a ceiling with next to Harden. We've seen that. What do you have? 58 DK points in one of the games with Harden there. So there's still 60 points ceiling here, I would say. And if Edwards, if Minnesota just absolutely steamrolls Dallas, like is absolutely in the cards, Edwards might only play 25 minutes. So Mitchell doesn't even need to hit like an absolute ceiling just to beat him in raw points.
Yep. Again, you can play Con here at $7,300. Hard to do the Miami play with Tyler Hero back. I don't know what Hero is going to be in terms of minutes. He's missed so much time, and all of a sudden he's just like good to go. Do they just throw him into 30 minutes? I mean, I don't want to play Hero, but it impacts sort of your thoughts on the rest of the Miami team in a good spot against Atlanta.
Yeah, I wrote several times in the playbook about this Atlanta team and being in the best game environment of the night, but there's not a single Miami player in the playbook today because you can't do it with Hero coming back. Everyone is a little bit overpriced. So I have a ton of interest in the game. It's just hard to get to the Miami side.
Yeah, I agree with you. Jordan says Fears or Isaiah Joe. I mean, it feels like a pretty clear Fears play for me there over Isaiah Joe.
Yeah, same. I don't think it's close.
Is QJ still in the G League? What do we got? Any updates there? And Quentin Jackson, it looks like he's here. So
as of the most recent injury report, he's still listed as questionable, and in the G League is the answer. Okay. It's not an injury, so they have not officially activated him.
Well, he's got 20% ownership. At least the sites are projecting him, so I guess we'll see whether or not. If he's out again, obviously it changes sort of the whole rotation.
I will note that Talon Pater and Ethan Thompson are also listed that exact same way on the injury report. One of them has to play at least, or they would not have 8. So there will be some activations from the G League. Stay tuned on that. Obviously, it depends on TJ McConnell is still questionable. Nembhard officially doubtful. I'm sure once Nembhard gets ruled out, they'll announce those activations.
Let's see. We have Dallas plays Najee Marshall. Sensabaugh is obviously interesting at $5,700. If you're looking for some mid-range plays here, it's shooting guard.
Yeah, wild range of outcomes on the minutes for Sensabaugh. Markkanen, we expect to get ruled out now that he's been downgraded from probable to questionable to doubtful. We assume that out is coming within the next hour here, which makes Sensabaugh very much in play. The matchup against a Memphis team without any actual NBA players is incredible. He played 35 minutes in the last game. I don't know if he'll see that level of playing time again. If he does, he's a fantastic play. Even if he's in the upper 20s, I think he's still very much in play.
Sure. Anything else in this mid-range for you?
Let's see. We talked Brandon Williams already. Fears, obviously. You mentioned those dual eligibilities. I don't see anyone that we haven't talked about until we get real cheap.
Okay. Let's talk real cheap. Where are we looking to go?
Yeah, it's just the Indiana guys like Peter. I would expect they're going to need bodies. I don't know what the role looks like. Again, this is kind of the guessing game that I'm not sure we really need to play. Bryce McGowan's had a nice role. I expect him to be in the rotation pretty heavily here.
Give him
exactly. Yep, 3-year deal. So it definitely seems like he's a part of their future. Should see some nice run today. I would think mid 20s minutes.
Yep, and he's a guy that has started before. I'm not saying they'll go that route, but they have used him in the starting lineup before there.
That's a great point because they've been willing to run Herb and Zion at point a little bit. Murphy's played a ton of point, obviously. So if they do start McGowan's with like Herb and Bay and Zion and Queen, and Fears comes off the bench, that does not take me off of Fears necessarily. No. I still think Fears is in there for 30 plus minutes tonight.
I agree. Anything else at shooting guard?
Nope.
Small forward we go then. From an ownership perspective, again, all these players have dual positional eligibility. So there's some retreads here. It's a lot of value again at this tier. Brandon Miller, you can definitely get there at $8,300 if you wanted to. He's getting around 16% as of right now. Sadiq Bey, Jarice is where the ownership goes here today at $6,400, but obviously Najee Marshall's in that same tier. What are your thoughts at small forward?
Yeah, I've played a ton of Brandon Miller recently. The price is now getting to the point where it's a bit prohibitive. Still can play him certainly, but it is a back-to-back. Cleveland is a pretty stout defense even without Mobley, so I don't love Miller tonight. It's because the 6K range is so strong. You mentioned Jarris Walker's getting all the ownership. He absolutely smashed last night. Gets the exact same matchup tonight with an even more short. No Nembhard, no Neesmith now. I know Neesmith left early, but Nembhard played most of the game. Walker is just an absolute smash again. I think there are interesting pivots, Sadiq Bey being my favorite of them. If Zion doesn't take over the alpha role, we've seen Sadiq Bey fall into that at times this season. So no Trey Murphy. There's plenty of usage to go around. If Sadiq Bey wants to get up 20 shots, he certainly has that path available to him. Najee Marshall is interesting as well. Kind of the same arguments. No Cooper Flag. They're going to need scoring. I could see Marshall taking a bunch of shots today as well.
Yeah, 100%. I think both of those guys are interesting. Obviously, Bey also sometimes randomly gives you rebounds. 9 rebounds in 2 of the last 3 games out of him there. Ace Bailey's had some up and down scoring, but the minutes obviously have been rock solid. $6,200. Not really scaring me off from here today.
Yeah, totally agree. Love the matchup against a shorthanded Memphis team. And nobody really to score, so Ace could definitely take on that role.
Let's see here. Mentioned Sensible already. Would you go back to Jalen Tyson if with no Mobley today? Any interest there?
Have seen the numbers come down quite a bit since the arrival of Harden. Pulling up what he played without Mobley in the last couple of games. He did have a 30 in there.
21 minutes in that blowout.
Yeah, 21 last game. Yeah, I don't think that I need to go there today, honestly.
What are you doing with the Washington side?
Good question. It's obviously a great spot. It's an even better spot than it was yesterday, now that they're down Nembhard and Neesmith as well.
Yep.
We just don't know what the rotation is. And then Washington is also without Keyshawn George, so more usage available and more minutes to go around for everybody.
It feels like Champagny could have like a game, one of those random Champagny brother games where they just take all the shots and make them.
Yeah, absolutely. And like somebody's probably going to play 30 minutes here. I don't know who it's going to be. Is it going to be Jameer Watkins, who was a DNP yesterday? Right. Is it going to be Koulibaly? I don't know who's going to play the minutes. One of them probably will, and one of them will probably pay off his price tag. But it's definitely a guessing game.
You have your Memphis plays here as well. Gigi Jackson and Jalen Wells, both very chalky plays today.
Yes, I prefer Gigi Jackson, honestly. I don't know that they're going to be willing to run. I know Memphis is extremely shorthanded, but they have not really been willing to extend Wells into the mid-30s at all. So I think there's like a 30-minute cap on his minutes here, even as shorthanded as they are. Gigi Jackson's played into the 30s plenty of times. I think he has more upside than Jalen Wells.
Let's see. Any other value plays? Herb, $4,400. You mentioned Watkins at $44. Kobe Brown's $4,300. Probably a popular play today as well.
Yeah, I actually like Herb the most in that range, more so than Kobe Brown. Kobe's fine. He's going to play a bunch of minutes. I would assume he starts in the spot. But Herb can do a little bit of everything. No Trey Murphy. He might get a couple extra shots. Stocks. So I think Herb's a better producer and has to play mid-30s minutes. The other guy I really like.
Coach Chris saying that Justin Champagne didn't even play last night. Yeah, but tonight could be a different night. Now down Keyshawn, right? So.
Yeah, exactly. It's a good point. And Champagne's probably not going to start, which makes that a really risky play just because of that fact. They included Alondis Williams and Kaderi Richmond in the rotation. Either of those guys could DMP tonight, and it would surprise no one. So,
right.
Honestly, it's a slate where I don't think that you have to mess and try to guess with the Washington rotation. There are plenty of plays outside of them that we feel really good about. getting minutes. Even on the Indiana side, I feel more comfortable about their rotation than trying to figure out the Washington rotation. They have less bodies of today. Down the list to a guy like Usman Jang, who absolutely smashed last time. Ryan Rollins is back, so that probably pushes him back to the bench. But still, without Miles Turner, I think he can find 25 plus minutes in this spot. And he was absolutely incredible last game. And it's an elite matchup against New Orleans, who we've attacked all season long.
Sure, it's a good shout. I don't mind that at all. And some of these games, a couple of them at least with 7 o'clock starts. Pacers, Washington specifically, will get starting lineups. Utah, Memphis will get starting lineups for them. Maybe we'll get some news there with Milwaukee and what they do. We think it's going to be Jarko Sims probably playing for Turner there. But anything else at small forward?
Yeah, there's a couple of names down here. Mashek has been playing significant minutes for Memphis. Love that matchup against Utah, obviously. Yeah. They are in enough where he basically I believe they have 9 bodies tonight. Yes, 9. Memphis. So Mashek should be out there for 20 plus minutes. That feels way more comfortable. You asked me about Risache yesterday, and I said, nah, I think you know what his role is. He's going to play 22 minutes, and he is what he is. And then, of course, he goes out there and he plays 27 minutes. If that's his role, he's too cheap. It's the best game environment of the night against the fastest-paced team in the league. I don't have any problems going back there.
No, I agree with you. All right, let's go to power forward, where, again, Jalen Johnson exists. 10-5 for him. He had 32, 10, and 5 last night. Almost 60 fantasy points now in like 5-6 straight games. So you get him against Miami. You mentioned there's not a lot of options to spend up for. He's currently getting 30% ownership tonight.
Yeah, it's just the most comfortable click. The dude's been rock solid for 50 fantasy points with upside for 70. It's the best game environment of the night. Highest total of the night. What can you say bad about it? Tough matchup against Bam, but who cares? It's Jalen Johnson. He's live for a triple double. He's the easiest, the most comfortable spend up, and there's so much value that it is too easy to get there, which is why the ownership is coming in so hot.
I agree with you on that one. Zion's the other spend up ownership play, so you could pivot to Randall if you wanted to. You do have obviously the Utah plays here as well. Thoughts as we hit the mid range?
Yeah, I love Zion. I love Randall. They're both catching a little bit of ownership, I think. Randall, we just saw, even though Minnesota was in a blowout last game, he absolutely smashed in that blowout. Still played 32 minutes, and it was like a 20-point game heading into the fourth. So he can certainly get it done, even if the game gets a little bit out of hand. I like saving the 1,000 from Edwards just because you don't need as high of a ceiling at a little bit lower of a salary tag. So I really like Randall as a pivot off of Zion. Zion's obviously in an amazing spot. Usage is up over 29% without Trey Murphy and Jose Alvarado in the lineup. Also, we don't expect Jordan Poole to be in the rotation tonight. So Zion should have a ton of usage. Should have the ball in his hands a ton. Elite matchup against a shorthanded Milwaukee team who's missing their top 2 rim protectors. So great spot for Zion. Filipowski is certainly in play. No Nurkic, no Markkanen, presumably. Memphis's front court they're just undersized is the best way to say it. They don't have a true center on the roster. So Filipowski could absolutely eat in the spot.
Yeah, for sure. You played Jarice here, Gigi Jackson as well with some ownership at the top. Jay Huff up over 20% as you kind of work your way down. But you and I were kind of higher on PJ Washington last night. Do we go back here?
Yeah, I'm totally fine with that. We talked about the solid trends in his usage, his workload here. Back in the starting lineup, 33 minutes in the last game. I think he can keep inching that closer to, say, 36 minutes if the game stays competitive enough. And without Cooper Flagg, they are going to need some scoring as well. So I'm still on PJ. I like that. Naz Reid, I think, is pretty interesting. His role has taken a slight bump, and I'm not entirely sure if it's an Ayo Dosunmu effect or if it's just the blowout effect. But he's been more like 22, 23 minutes than the 27, 28 minutes that he was a couple weeks ago. I still don't mind it. Like, Naz can do it in a hurry. He can put up a bunch of fantasy points really quickly. It's obviously an elite matchup against Dallas. So I'm still in on Naz. Same with Huff. Just he's going to have a role in the upper 20s. It's one of the best matchups in all of basketball. If you're looking for a pivot in this range that nobody's playing, I think Danny Wolf is a little bit interesting. Brooklyn is kind of spreading the minutes around. They've taken some from Noah Clowney. They took some from Sharp as well. And Wolf was up to 28 minutes last game. So if he can see that level of minutes, I think he can still pay off this price even in a tough matchup.
Okay. Again, you have Riley. We don't know what Washington's going to do. He played 4 minutes, so maybe tonight he plays more? Question mark. Who knows? But obviously a talented kid. You have Potter at $4,400. Hendricks, you'd mentioned no size. Hendricks has been a guy that's been coming off their bench and putting up some pretty good production for them. Olivier Maxence Prosper is actually the highest roster player at this position tonight at $3,500. He's almost 36% all the way down here. Would you play any of these Memphis bigs?
Yeah, I mean, they're short on bodies, so they're going to have to be out there and playing minutes. Omax has been playing awesome, so I don't know. I get why the ownership is going there. I think the pivot to Hendricks is an elite tournament move because I don't think that Omax is guaranteed to continue smashing. They're playing roughly the same minutes. Neither one of them is playing a ton of minutes. They're both in that that mid-20s range. Who's to say Hendricks isn't the one that goes off tonight? So very little ownership on Hendricks, a ton of ownership on Omax, basically in the same role. Give me the lower owned guy in that spot.
Yeah. If you go to center, again, as you mentioned, no one's spending up here. Bam is 5%. No one's playing Jared Allen, which I think is kind of interesting. He's 2%. I mean, we saw what Jared Allen was doing without Mobley before.
Yeah.
Good spot. I mean, wouldn't you take the tourney play here with Jared Allen tonight?
Absolutely. I love that call out. He has been a different person since James Harden arrived on the team. Even with Mobley in the lineup, was absolutely smashing. The game just got out of hand. So we had talked about maybe the role came down a little bit. We don't know what the role was going to be because the game was completely out of hand. Cleveland did not even need to play the fourth quarter, really. But he was absolutely cruising. It's a role change that I don't think the field has caught up to yet. It's obviously an elite spot here against Charlotte with Diabate still out. There's not much rim protection there. I love that as a tournament play.
Yep. Anything else in the mid range for you?
You could take stabs at Rudy Gobert. We know Dallas allows a ton of paint points, just not a guy that often finds a ceiling. So that's a meh play for me. You could go back to Day'Ron Sharp as well. I know the minutes came down, but this is a guy who can absolutely smash in 20 minutes. The price tag is way up now, as it should be, because of the production that he can find in a short amount of time. Nobody's playing him today. This is a guy we've seen go for 50 fantasy points recently.
Yeah.
So I think that's an interesting tournament pivot. Obviously,
Derek Queen's getting ownership tonight,
Yes.
$6,000. He's your second highest rostered center.
And justifiably so. Obviously, without Murphy, there's some extra usage to go around. And we've talked about this matchup a couple of times. Without Turner and Giannis, there's zero rim protection in this Milwaukee lineup. So I think Queen can absolutely do whatever he wants. 6K. If he plays 30 minutes, that's way too cheap.
Yep. Let's see. Again, Huff is there. I mean, we were all in on Vukcevic last night. He's played 17 minutes and gave us 34 fantasy points. He had 6 stocks. I mean, we obviously wanted more than 17 minutes, but can you pay $4,800 for him tonight?
You can, yes. I think the ownership coming way down because the price went up and he didn't play the minutes we expected him to. It's creating a unique situation. There's a chance he could play more minutes tonight. I don't think that you should expect 2 fantasy points per minute. That's pretty absurd. But he can definitely give you 1.4 or 1.5. So yeah, still playable. And now that there's not a ton of ownership there, I don't mind it at all.
Any other values at center that you're looking to play tonight?
Yeah. Keep an eye on the Dallas situation with Gafford questionable. Sure. Bagley could end up being a starter. There's so much value in the 7:00 window that this is a play that could go completely under the radar. So
Sure.
How I'm handling this is if that news isn't out, I'm just going to build in a bunch of Bagley before we get the news. just to make sure that I have enough of him if Gafford does indeed get rolled out. Because I mean, if he's starting and playing 28 minutes, he's an elite play.
I agree with you. All right, let's get a core build here. Obviously, we like Jalen Johnson. Would you do Jared Allen here and start this way and just use all the value around it?
Yeah, I'm completely fine with that. I think you could even fit in another like Kevin Porter or Zion Williamson would be probably my two other favorite. I wouldn't call them spend ups, but
let's see if we did Zion or KBJ at shooting guard, because again 5K a play.
There's all Memphis has a ton of stuff.
A ton of all the Memphis value.
Gigi Jackson, Cam Spencer.
I was gonna say Hendricks was 4K.
Yeah.
Right. If you wanted the tournament play there.
Brandon Williams, another value that I love.
Yep, $5,100 Brandon Williams. I mean, you could do something like this and give you basically $5,400. Fears, Porter, Johnson, Allen, Williams, and Hendricks. You can play around with it, some more value. Again, there's some min price plays like Omax, like you said. You could go there and save yourself even more money.
Yeah, it's
$5,600 a player. So it's a lot of different ways that you guys can build some lineups tonight while kind of spending up for one big guy.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a ton of ways to build lineups. Like you can make pretty much anything work, I think.
We had no Gil Love. I mean, again, you can, but there's nothing to say that he plays the minutes he plays tonight after playing them last night. That's the problem. So
and he's very, very low per minute. I know he's been a little bit better recently, but we have a long history of him being a low per minute producer.
Yep. Let's see. We have thoughts on Dyson Daniels.
Yeah, I wrote him up just because of the game environment. Not a play that I typically play a ton of because it's hard to predict the ceiling outcomes. But when you're in a 243.5 total, that's probably the time to jump on.
Yep. You Mitch likes Hartenstein tonight versus Brooklyn. Certainly could. I mean, again, they're shorthanded. Brooklyn's down to no Claxton and Day'Ron Sharp. It's just is he going to get the minutes? He can get you double. The assists have been really good for Isaiah Hartenstein. So I'm not going to argue it.
Yeah, I'm not going to argue it either.
No one's on him, so you're
exactly.
getting a tournament play out of Hartenstein there. So we did mention Dieng. Good run last time. Can certainly use him here tonight. So Allen or Filipowski, I would go Jared Allen, but Filipowski obviously could have himself a pretty good role tonight with Laurie and Nurkic out. So they're both fine.
Yep.
All right, guys. Appreciate you all tuning in. We'll be back Sunday night for the Monday preview show. Get your lineups in, get your questions in the Discord, and we'll catch you guys later.